Director of Legislative Relations for the National Security Council, I was deeply involved in the effort to obtain the Senate's consent to the SALT II treaty. We probably would have succeeded if, on Christmas Day, 1979, Soviet troops had not invaded Afghanistan. The Carter administration pushed back against this act of aggression economically by halting grain shipments and by banning the transfer of advanced technology. It responded politically by boycotting the Moscow Olympics and reinstating draft registration. At the same time, the administration's attention was equally focused on Iran, where militants backed by a revolutionary Islamic regime seized our embassy and held our diplomats hostage. President Carter was consumed with saving their lives, but the public quickly grew disenchanted. The press was brutal in its focus on the hostages, and all this fed into a feeling of national helplessness that was soon exploited by Ronald Reagan. He proved a far more formidable adversary than many Democrats predicted, and in my eternal optimism, I thought we could beat him. I was wrong. Although the verdict of the voters was clear, history's verdict on Carter is still being debated. He laid the foundations for conserving energy as a national policy and normalized relations with China. He poured out a cornucopia of good ideas, but they spilled out so swiftly and simultaneously that Carter obscured his own priorities, sending Congress more than it could handle and foreign leaders and the American people more than they could absorb. With the benefit of hindsight, public perceptions have begun to change, and with Stu Eisenstat's important contribution, my hope is that those perceptions will continue to evolve so that Jimmy Carter will be recognized as the consequential and successful president that he was. I will always think of him as one of our most intelligent chief executives who showed a fierce dedication to conflict prevention and individual human dignity, both during and after his term in office. He is a great man, and our country was lucky to have him as our leader.
Dedication. To my wonderful, loving wife, Fran, who for 45 years, including the challenging Carter White House years, was my selfless life partner, my closest advisor, and my most ardent supporter. She is deeply missed. And to my parents, Leo and Sylvia, firstborn generation Americans, who took great pride that their son could work in the White House. Epigraph. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there's no effort without shortcoming, but who knows the great enthusiasm, the great devotion, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. Theodore Roosevelt, Citizenship in a Republic, Sorbonne, Paris, April 23, 1910. This is Stuart E. Eizenstat. Preface. I never expected to participate in Jimmy Carter's 1970 run for governor of Georgia, but I had contracted an incurable political bug at the University of North Carolina, participating in student government, writing articles on policy issues for the student newspaper, hearing President Kennedy challenge my generation to public service at a 1962 speech in Kenan Memorial Stadium, and, in 1963, undergoing a transformative experience serving as a congressional intern in Washington and a university-sponsored